I did mention to my chairman and managing director that I will be speaking few words in Tamil. I come from this place. மதிப்பிற்கும் மரியாதைக்கும் உரிய என்னுடைய சிறப்பு விருந்தினராக இங்கே வருகை தந்திருக்கின்ற மேன்மை தாங்கிய தோஹா வங்கியினுடைய நிர்வாக உறுப்பினர்களே, என்னுடைய சேர்மன் ஷேக் ஃபஹாத் பின் முகமது பின் ஜாபர் அல் தானி அவர்களே, என்னுடைய மேனேஜிங் டைரக்டர் ஷேக் அப்துல் ரஹ்மான் பின் முகமது பின் ஜாபர் அல் தானி அவர்களே, என்னுடைய நிர்வாக இயக்குனர் மதிப்பிற்குரிய அகமத் கால் அவர்களே, மற்றும் என்னுடைய வங்கியிலே என்னோடு பணிபுரிகின்ற மேன்மை தங்கிய வங்கி உறுப்பினர்களே, பெரியோர்களே, தாய்மார்களே, உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் முதற்கண் என் நன்றி கலந்த வணக்கத்தை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். இந்திய நாட்டிலே பிறந்து, தமிழ்நாட்டிலே குறிப்பாக பிறந்து வளர்ந்து படித்து பட்டம் பெற்று அரபு நாட்டிலே கிட்டத்தட்ட 30 ஆண்டு காலமாக பணிபுரிந்து வருகின்றேன். ஒரு இந்தியனுக்கு அவர்கள் கொடுத்த மரியாதை நீங்கள்லாம், they are thanking you for recognizing an Indian. குறிப்பாக ஒரு தமிழனுக்கு அவர்கள் காட்டிய மரியாதைக்கு நாம் நன்றி கடன் பெற்றிருக்க வேண்டும். We came a couple of days before to Mumbai. Both my chairman as well as managing director insisted that I should apply for a license. It's not my vision alone. The vision came from them, and they said I should apply for a license in 2005. I did, when His Highness, the then Emir of Qatar, when he was in India, we applied for a license. We managed to insist and managed to obtain our license end of December. Qatar has been a telling story, one of the best performing economy in the world in terms of economic fundamentals, which I will articulate in a few minutes' time. This is going to be a very short presentation, as such. Between 20 to 25 minutes, we'll run through the monologues and then followed by question answers. That's it. Then we'll disperse for dinner. But you have to recognize the vision and conceptions to build this partnership between India and Qatar and the Gulf states has been profound, and it's just a beginning. I have the privilege of running over 12 years now with the institution. The institution has been exemplifying its character and commitment as a sustainable performer. Wherever Qatar and the Gulf states have got economic linkage, we are there. In addition to full-scale operations in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, we also have, wherever there is a trading relationship, we have our commercial gates, right from Sydney, Australia, Japan, Tokyo, Seoul, South Korea, Shanghai in China, Singapore. These are all offices which were commenced years ago, 7-8 years before. We have been doing exceedingly well in those locations again. We also have in London, Frankfurt, and Toronto. These are economic linkages which are driving the Gulf economies in terms of trade. We are there. Where the boom or downturn, the institution has performed exceedingly well. As a double-A-rated country, A-rated institution, Doha Bank has been the best performing institution in terms of highest return on average equity, highest return on average assets. We were waiting for the license in the wings for almost 8 years. This opportunity, we want to make sure we are a professional intermediary to promote the bilateral trade, investments, banking and finance between these two blocks. India has invested human capital. Over 7 million Indians are living in the Gulf. And again, proximity. Just 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you are there. Even in Doha, it takes maximum 3 hours at times, and the wind is turbulent. The reason why I'm saying this is It's a logical alignment for us to really recognize the market opportunity and make the best for both the blocks. Before I came to this press, I was interviewed by one of the newspaper. It happened in Dubai. It was reflected in the newspapers yesterday. Some of the questions which were very common is what I intend to respond to you as my presentation as such. Let it be interactive as well. If you have any questions, once I finish, perhaps you should ask me so that I can clarify the doubts, if at all. They asked what's happening in the global scene, knowing that I'm an economist, and how the financial markets are behaving. And again, what is the economic fundamentals of the Gulf states? How India is performing with the changing face of the world? What are the bilateral relationship between India and the Gulf states, Qatar and India in particular? What's the purpose of Doha Bank coming here? What's your business model? And how we can facilitate for Tamil Nadu, Chennai? These are the questions put to me. If I start answering in sequence, I think you will find the answer in substance. We are living in a changing phase of the world. Those who challenge me in saying that the world is recovering, I want to confront them professionally. Nothing has changed in the last 5 years, ever since Lehman Brothers or again, Bear Stearns got collapsed. Extraordinary turn of events. Financial economies are converting as real. Real economies are redefining the scope and performance. Communism is alterating its form and substance. Consumer protection has been the name of the game. Socialism, in substance, is driving with free market principles. Look at China. Formidable growth, still formidable in global terms. Mixed economies are responding well. They are decelerating with the current changes. In substance, financial economies are converting as real. Real economies are redefining the scope and performance. Financial markets are nothing but gambling grounds. Highly volatile, highly speculative, highly market-driven. In substance, short-term focused. That's the world we are in. The changes which are happening in terms of global governance, setting universal standard in terms of accounting, valuations, securitizations, are not converging between politics and economics. We have disjointed missions in terms of overall global governance. That's the world we are in. Look at the United States. Let's go in order. United States. Printing money, improving the liquidity has inflated the stock markets. The money supply, sheer quantity of money has inflated the stock markets. The money transcended borders from the developed world to emerging markets like India. And again, with deceleration started when QE tapering was announced. QE1, QE2, QE3. What is quantitative easing? It's a bond buying programs, both buying the treasury and long-term mortgages, so that you start supplying additional liquidity. Liquidity crisis has changed into a funding crisis. Funding crisis has changed into a solvency crisis. Solvency crisis has changed into a sovereign crisis. That's it. Where is the real growth? Where is the real growth in the global economy? America, in terms of global growth, if you look at it, the bigger picture, perhaps it might move from 3.7 this year if there is no real contentious issues on the Cold War, which is emanating on account of Crimea annexation with Russia, challenging this territorial integrity. The global growth today is possible 3.7%, and it might move if there is political stability, financial stability comes in. 3.9%. Advanced economies, so-called advanced economies, including Japan. If you look at a breakup, America should do between 2.8 to 3%. Again, when it comes to Euro, I have my reasons to say this. It's a design error. By birth, it's a deformity. By birth is a deformity. When you centralize the monetary policy, you decentralize the fiscal policy. There's no alignment. Enlarged Europe, which was principally defined in Maastricht criteria, is getting challenged. Euro as a federation needs to converge in economics and politics. It means they have to create a political union. They have to create a banking union. They need to make sure the alignment comes between politics and economics. That's a cultural issue. Recognize this issue. This is going to move between 1 to 1.2%. Japan. Again, if America can print money, Japan can also print money. That's what they realized. They invented Abenomics. Trillions of Japanese yens were put into open market operations, inflating the economy. They might inflate up to 2%. There's no real growth. Technically, they were under recession. 2 years before, not long ago. Abenomics was a recent invention of the new government. If America could do it, European Central Bank could do it. European Central Bank could do it. Bank of England could do it. Why not Japan? That's the dictum. That's the conception. So they started printing money. Same bond buying programs. Inflation, again, supporting. It's just like taking a patient and putting him in the ICU and putting him in salines. The minute you pull out the emergency access, you know what's the fate of the patient. If you list it out, sum it up, the total consumption you get, the aggregate growth of the advanced economies are between 2.1 to 2.2%. Perhaps it might move to 2.3%. That's it. Look at the emerging economies. India, as a functional democracy. In fact, my chairman and managing director were excited about, after 20 years when they visited, seeing new cars. When they saw Bombay, they were excited. And today when they were visiting the business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, they were so thrilled with the growth. They're great well-wishers of India. They understand the cultural nuances. That's why they have given me the responsibility. They understand that Indians are hardworking, committed. But when they saw physically, they were saying India is transforming. That they saw it in real terms. India is a functional democracy. You have politics and economics like any part of the world. We need to converge. Holding multi-parties and ensuring 700 million people cast votes and ensuring political stability is the name of the game, which is happening now. If everything is all right, we should be doing between 5.7% to 6.4% next year. China. Those who have seen China, though it's a socialistic, communistic pattern, when it comes to decision makings, when it comes to free market principles, they have been principally driven by values which are business centered. And they have seen 30 years non-stop growth over 9%. India has done 14 years consecutive. But the system now is slowing down. Chinese economy is slowing down. Not very much. Still they are formidable, as I said. 7.5 to 7.7. That's not bad. India is not bad, but relatively, these emerging markets produce incrementally. When you look at the global growth, incrementally 60% of the incremental growth comes from the emerging markets. That's why you have younger population, you have educated populations, you have more and more purchasing power, huge market. And China is, again, their execution skills are much more. We're struggling in certain phases, but still, if you look at the global growth versus Chinese growth, still, they're number one. 7.5% is not bad. They are slowing down. There are issues in terms of shadow banking. Trillions of dollars are given outside the system, parallel systems called shadow banking, and that's troubling them. That is a concern. The non-performing loans are on an issue. Those who read of late Financial Times, hear the news in global financial media can easily read what sort of issues in terms of macroeconomics they have. But still, commendable growth in global terms. Brazil is doing 2.2 to 2.3%, and Russia, we need to see whether European Union and United States is going to sanction them severely. Then it will have degenerations. If there is no serious consequence of sanction, then they should be doing between 2 to 2.2%. Sum it up. Again, emerging markets should do not less than 5.1 to 5.4% next year. Middle East, 4.4 to 4.8%. Gulf, where we come from, where 45% of the world oil, 25% of the world gas comes from this place. You know, the financial stability of this region is as good as India. 1.6 trillion is taking oil at $65 per barrel. They should be generating 1.662, taking oil at 65. The oil today, Brent is $107 per barrel. The NewMax WTI should be between 95 to 99. That's the oscillation we have seen. That's enormous. That's a budget surplus you can calculate. They are generating not less than 1.6 trillion. Mind you, the current account surplus as a percentage of GDP is formidable. 22% of the GDP is a surplus aggregate. Countries like Qatar, if you look at this split of 1.6 trillion, the topic in the list is Saudi Arabia, $747 billion. The second largest economy is United Arab Emirates, where we have 2 branches, $404 billion. The third is less than 2 million population, $210 billion, $209.9 billion is Qatar's GDP. 30% is the current account surplus. $53.4 billion US is the surplus the economy is generating. Then comes, if you look at the economy, Kuwait comes 188 billion. Oman comes with 89 billion. Bahrain comes with 29 billion. You total it up, it's 1662. I was presenting day for yesterday. Somebody was calculating literally, and he said, your numbers are right. I said, I used to watch the gentleman sitting here, Ramkumar Ganeshan. I used to watch his father's film. In the school, we used to get memory test is the principal focus. Whatever we see, we recognize it. We have a photo finish. So you can total what are the numbers I'm saying it, or make sure that I'm giving the right statistics. It's all authentic. Sources I can reveal. This is the number. The essence is the Gulf economies are as good as India in terms of overall gross domestic productivity, GDP. The investable surplus is over 20%, whereas India has got a challenge to fix the current account deficit, which is $45 billion. Inflation, which is important on account of oil and gold, that's 8.1% last quarter. And again, when it comes to fiscal consolidation, you have a bigger challenge. As a percentage of GDP, the maximum the finance minister said should be in the range of 3.8%. That's what the overall objective. Within the frame, you have to manage your currency depreciations in whole, and you have to strengthen the currency, which is happening, what we see. So the Gulf economies are very strong in terms of economic fundamentals. And the opportunity which we need to recognize between India and Gulf is the next point which we need to understand. The opportunity lies in terms of bilateral trade as on date. Between 2012 to 2013, 147 billion has moved to $159 billion. $59 billion. The total bilateral trade is $159 billion. If you split, topping in the list is United Arab Emirates. It's not Saudi Arabia, even though they are having a very strong relationship. That's the second best. Topping in the list is United Arab Emirates, 75.4 billion US dollars bilateral trade. Indians have invested over $52 billion in UAE. Indians have invested in United Arab Emirates. Bilateral trade, if you look at it, 36 billion and plus 39 billion of exports. If you look at it, it's 75.4 billion. Again, Saudi Arabia is second best with 43 billion. Then comes Kuwait, 17.6 billion. Then comes Qatar, 16.4 billion. Then Oman, 4.6 billion, 1.3 billion is Bahrain. Summing it up, that is 159 billion. The bilateral trade is just beginning. We have a maximum opportunity to enhance it by signing a FTA, free trade agreement. The free trade agreement is going to enhance, there is already a double taxation treaty. In terms of business, doing business in the Gulf is very easy. That's why many businessmen from here, they go to London or New York. There's no money into it. Real money lies here. The real opportunity lies here. Ease of doing business lies here. Proximity lies here. Cost of capital lies here. Cost effective labor is yours. You have free zones. What you cannot do. It's Bombay to Chennai is what we spend between Chennai to Oman or UAE in terms of proximity. In substance, if you look at the opportunity, once a free trade agreement, which is likely anytime, your trade should enhance not less than 40%. That you have to recognize it. What we export from the Gulf is oil, gas, petrochemicals, polypropylene, fertilizers, urea, ammonia. What we import from the Indian territory is mineral oils, mineral fuels, cotton, machineries, again, rice, gems, some apparels. That's it. Very few Indian businessmen have ventured into the Gulf states. When the finance minister was in Gulf, I did mention to him on May 19th, we hosted a reception for him in Qatar when he was bowled over looking for investments. The bilateral trade itself is an opportunity for you to submit clearly, here is a set of countries who are running in fiscal surplus and current account surplus. The Gulf states can provide. Look at the enormity of the projects which are going on. I talked about the economic fundamentals of the Gulf states. There is no country in the world today. I did mention to the advisors of this government, I said, what you're going to get it from United States or UK or other parts of the world? The real opportunity lies with economies which have investable surplus, fiscal surplus. And they also need, today the Gulf sovereign funds, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Kuwait Investment Authority. Kuwait Investment Authority invested in Merrill Lynch, Citibank. You have seen the destiny. The world is turning towards the emerging market. Incremental opportunity lies in investments which are secured, where you have a definite exit strategy. And there is a momentum going on today to believe there's a change in market preference that towards Asia. Today, Gulf sovereigns are looking at investment destinations which are secured, which are sustainable in terms of long-term returns. That's the name of the game. Clearly, giving a proposal which is commercially viable, investment protected, that's what today UAE is signing an agreement for investment protection agreement. When Qatar has announced $5 billion, there are two countries they announced. When His Highness, when he came to India in April 2005, I was a witness to it. It came in the newspaper, two countries. One is Singapore, 5 billion, India, 5 billion. Their brother was a then Prime Minister. The ruling family members are my board of directors. India and Singapore. This was announced by the then Prime Minister. The mentor Prime Minister visited 3 times. The investments were made in respective destinations, respective pockets of oil and gas, non-oil, including joint investments by the Singaporean Investment Authority around the world for 5 billion within 1 year. We need to submit cases which are responsive. We need to we need infrastructure creation here, trillions of dollars. This is just a beginning. I just showcased them the metro here. The public-private partnership model has been proven as a successful norm. There are many industrial corridors are opening. Many road and rail, airport and seaports are expanding. We need to present the opportunities in terms of commercial advantage with investment protection agreement. Then it is easy for you to recognize sustainable relationship comes in not only in terms of trade, not only one-sided, it's bilateral. That's what the opportunity we need to understand. If you look at the overall Gulf economies today, year 2014, the fiscal expenditure is $409 billion. Let me give the split again. Topping in the list is 143 billion Saudi Arabia. This year alone they are going to spend. I'll tell you the sectors which are likely. The government expenditure comes as a major driver for economies to propel their growth. Saudi Arabia is going to spend $143 billion. Then comes United Arab Emirates, 86 billion. 85 billion comes from Oman, a country which produces 89 billion as the GDP, is planning to spend 85 billion in the current fiscal year. Qatar is 72 billion. Only last week they announced the budget. Kuwait is 72.4 billion government expenditure. And Bahrain is limited to 8 billion. If you sum it up, you will get the numbers. That's the opportunity. That's the kind of opportunity I'm talking about. Government expenditure in healthcare. The aggregate growth which we are going to see in non-hydrocarbon, airport, seaport, road, rail. If you look at the opportunity, it is not less than 10%, double-digit growth. I call upon the healthcare units here. Come, explore the opportunities. We know Indian doctors are good. Indian Medicare is good. Medical tourism is successful. Many Indian doctors are approved, right from United States to Sydney. The Gulf, very few Indian corporations. We are the bankers for many of the Indian companies, L&Ts, Voltas, Shapojis, name it. But that's not India alone. That's not India. We have small and medium-sized entrepreneurs who want to be successful, who want to secure their brand value. They want to come to the offshore. They want to set up their business. They want to globalize their business model. Where is the opportunity? Here is the opportunity. Recognize this. Since I know both the sides of the coin, I'm trying to say with absolute assertion, the opportunity lies in this market where you can build this partnership. And that's the message you all have to take. The government expenditure has been the driving force, and these governments are going to spend. Qatar is going to spend 230 billion next 5 years. 2022 is going to be the major football game. World Cup is going to come in Qatar in 2022. We have only 27,000 man rooms in a hotel. We need to build 85,000 hotels. Is another opportunity. 2020 Expo is in United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Dubai is going to host 2020. That's where you have to recognize the sectors which are going to add value. We call the Indian infrastructure companies to come. We want you to have investment partnership. We have local sponsors for you. We have debt procurement if you need. Knowing their investment partnership, looking at the credibility, debt financing can come from Doha Bank. We are a Gulf-based bank. We are not only in Qatar. The 3 of the very strong Gulf states, we have a presence. United Arab Emirates, where we have the strongest bilateral trade. Kuwait, we have the strong presence. And Qatar is our domain. The opportunity for you to recognize these economies and make sure you build your business model in the free zone, in the onshore, is what is going to give you additional advantage for you to globalize. Looking at the market principles here, what's your challenge today in India? A businessman suffers from financing cost, a huge financing cost. If inflation is 8.1%, I'm assuming with the reorganization in terms of monetary policy, there will be further consolidation in terms of fiscal framework. You will have currency strengthening. You will have, again, inflation will come down. To what extent? To what extent? We are living in an interconnected and interdependent world. And we need to understand financing costs, unless you are globally competitive. If you pay 12% or 15% interest, a prime rate today for a blue chip corporates can go for 7% or 8%. I have a businessman here. I have many businessmen here. I know them. What will be your selling price? What will be your production cost if you're a manufacturer? What will be your cost effectiveness in terms of labor? How competitive you are in terms of international market? Look at it. When you look at the cost sheet, you have a constructive evidence for us to realize here is a model. Set up your infrastructure in the Gulf states. Have cost-effective financing and make sure you pay a flat tax rate, 10%. Countries like Qatar, just 10%, irrespective of where you come from. Flat. There's no proportional taxation, unlike here. Cost-effective labor, as I mentioned. Perhaps free zones, tax-free zones are available. Integrating people, process and technology is your domain. And ensuring you produce cost-effectively and again, take global market as an intermediary space, you use the Gulf space. That's what I want to showcase to you today. That's the principal reasons why I thought it's important we share in Indian cosmopolitan cities to purposefully bring me and my committed board and showcase the opportunity to go forward. We've got a license in Bombay. We are definitely recognizing this partnership is long term. We also recognize investment in India is worth the commitment. And we also recognize India will come out successfully from, in whatever be the current crisis. When you look at in global context, your crisis is measurable, manageable, and controllable. We need to recognize this. Sometimes when I sit outside and watch the issues we have, what are the challenges India has got and how can we fix it? In relative terms, you have a very strong governance in terms of a political framework. Constitutionally, you are still a functional democracy. Your challenge when it comes to fiscal consolidation will happen if you have the recognition of the fact that Indian investments around the world is huge, and inward investments you need to attract by aligning fiscal policy and monetary policy. Indians globalizing it, they have shown successful footprints around the world, and they have been successful in bringing their operations commercially viable, irrespective of the challenge India has got in terms of domestic circumstances. And recognizing this, you can go global. You can be today, whether you are not location-centric, you are information-centric, you are not product-centric, you are consumer-centric. You are not local, you are global. You are not private, you are public. That's the world we are in. We live in an interconnected, interdependent Facebook world. And interconnectivity gives you enormous amount of opportunity for you to recognize India is a country this century will recognize. So much younger populations. Privileged to have technocrats, younger population, educated populations, consuming public, which is enormous in terms of substance. Where else, which part of the world is going on? Look at any part of the even emerging economies. Looking at the aging population in Japan, China, United States, or even Europe. Look at a mix here. This century belongs to you in substance to make sure that you leverage and recognize the opportunity. And that's precisely the reason why we recognize the importance of India. We recognize the opportunity between Gulf and India. We want to be the professional intermediary to make sure the values are bilateral in terms of trade, investment, banking and finance. We are a friend and partner to make sure you are successful, then only we will be successful. That is precisely why we are here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention.